Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Next Stuff. This time will be very great and fun, and today's guest is a very special pharma futurist and expert, Hicham Naim. So thanks Hicham for joining us, and let's proceed with the question that which we prepared for this podcast. My first question would obviously be, how are you doing, and how's weather on your side?
First thing first, thank you, Dario. I'm doing fine, actually. I'm doing fine. I just came back with a short vacation with my family, so it was really nice, energized, and yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to have a conversation with a good friend of mine.
Thanks a lot, Hicham. So let's deep dive into the conversation. And my first question, based on your profile and background, which we really, really appreciate compared to the rest of the industry, would be how will pharma look like in 10 years from perspective of engagement, and especially nowadays when we have finally the era of AI?
Yeah. So, well, let's put a disclaimer because I will assume that no one can predict the future.
Yeah, of
But
course.
what we can do, we can use the power of our imagination and try to see how this could look like based on the current trends. And you mentioned AI. I think it's good maybe to focus on that one because if you start thinking about scenario planning, you need to look to multiple trends. And we need days, if not weeks, to go through all the different potential scenarios. If we focus on AI, and I think 2023, it's a pivotal year. We're in a crossroad of a new era. I remember the days when I was a student, was back in 1993. That was basically the era where internet started. And I think we're really living in the same era now. And yeah, if we take just the AI, the generative AI, large language model, and we think about what might happen, what could happen in 5 to 10 years now, there's a lot of positive, but also some scary outlook. And in terms of positive outlook, what if, for instance, AI became so advanced that it can help basically bring a truly hyper-personalized medicine and care? And we have already started showing some sparks of that. I mean, I don't know if you have read the last newsletter from Eric Topol, where he was mentioning a study where patients, they were, in terms of feedback, they thought that ChatGPT was more empathic to the current doctor. I don't think they will replace, and they should replace the doctor, but it shows basically the directions. And when I think also about AI and large language model, you could imagine that thanks to this technology, we will find new compound. We will maybe discover new disease we were not even aware of. If you just think about rare disease, if I'm not mistaken, there are 473, 75 million today. And there are more than 10,000 diseases. Those are the one we know. I'm pretty sure there are plenty of others that no one knows about. So we will discover new diseases, but also we will be able to find new treatment to that, a new compound. We will be able to find a way to provide the right information. The doctor will have maybe more time to spend with the patient instead of trying to summarize an AHR report, try to fill basically forms, long forms on Epic or other AHR. This is where basically I think it's positive. And there are other elements where I think it's scary. And one of them is, imagine, for instance, I don't know if you have heard about agent. So those are new models that are based on a large language model that can basically not only chat with you, but it can perform a task. You give them a task. I'm sure you heard about AutoGPT. This is maybe the 0.1% of the capability of the current models, what they can do. But imagine you 3 years, 5 years from now, you have 30 to 40% of the workforce in pharma or in the industry are smart agent or autonomous agent. And what could be the implication? I would imagine, for instance, that maybe 10 years from now, if you apply for a job, it's not anymore your CV. It's how many AI clones of you or agent are you bringing to the table. Imagine you are a brand brand lead, brand manager, or a market access manager, or a chief strategy officer. And what you're bringing, it's your experience, but also a set of different smart agents that are part of your core system. So there are a lot of implications on that, and I think whether it's in pharma or industry, we will see millions of jobs disappear. But on the other hand, every time there's a disruptive technology, there are jobs that didn't exist before. And one type of skills that I foresee in 3 to 5 years from now, and we should now basically developing this skill is prompt engineering. And it's not about coding, it's about having the capability to use your knowledge and wisdom to be able to better use the large language models. For instance, what type of prompt engineering marketing manager or a strategist or even a key account manager should now master to be able to better serve a customer. There's another, I don't think it's scary. I think it's positive. Another model that maybe could happen. Again, I'm not predicting the future, but I was reading an article last week from Fierce Pharma, where Epic, one of the large EHR model, is now embedding or including ChatGPT into the system. And here the implications are positive in some sense, because physicians will be able now to chat or to talk to the patient record, labs result, but also be able to have the right treatment choice for their own patient. The implication for pharma is that we talked about, the traditional model to multi-channel to omni-channel marketing. I think in 3 years from now, we'll start talking about mono-channel. There's only one channel is the AHR. And there are a lot of implications here. How you conduct a clinical trial, how the data is prepared to be able to be basically when a physician is questioning the HR or clinical data and evidence, be able to find the right treatment. So there's a different implication, whether they are from commercial model, but also the way you design a clinical trial in the future. And the data is coming from where? Will it come from your dossier? Will it come from the congresses? And if it comes to Congress, is the Congress the future? So those are different questions. I don't have the answers. But I was toying with those what-if scenarios. And one of the most exciting ones is it's exactly this one. It's what if in the future we don't have any more omni-channel, but a mono-channel? Is the AHR augmented with AI? And how should we prepare for that?
That's a good point. I mean, especially if you think about that, the very first time, in my personal opinion, after the transistor market and the microprocessor market, at the very first time, the Moore law is applicable again. Because if you look that only 6 months ago, we had the ChatGPT 1.0, and now we have the ChatGPT 4.0 and the upcoming one 5.0, obviously. I mean, and if you look the scale and the scalability, I think that the Moore law is again applicable. And you know it very well. If you speak with leading AI experts, everyone will say that no one saw that incremental shift was coming around the corner. So I think very interesting times indeed. Which leads me to the next question.
I just want to comment on that before we move to Moore's law, because I think it's, yes, you're right, Moore's law. I don't think we'll have a ChatGPT 5 after 4. I don't think there will be the release like that. I think the CEO of OpenAI clearly mentioned that what will happen now, it's a gradual upgrade. So you will not wait have 5, you might have 4.1, 4.2. And I think beside Moore's law, I think what will happen is an exponential convergence. Because of AI is becoming now advanced, it's mainstream. It will have not any implication of what we do, but I think it will accelerate the development of the other technology, whether it's gene therapy or others. So you will have this exponential convergence. And you're right. Maybe I was doing the math. And what could be the GPT in terms from now? It won't be maybe 10, or it probably will be like 50, GPT 50 or GPT 100, because you're right, it will be exponential.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, you mentioned one very good point, which is we went from multi-channel to omni-channel, and somehow what we face nowadays are two things. First, digital fatigue, right? And secondly, when you hear and listen to the definition of different pharma leaders about omnichannel, you actually can relate with the same definitions coming about multi-channel, which is quite strange. So my next question would be, why actually we didn't almost nothing from the digital transformation? Because as a major outcome, we obviously have digital fatigue and many are going back to face-to-face.
Okay, there are different reflections on that. The first one, I think it's not fair nor accurate to say that pharma has done nothing in digital transformation. I think it has. In fact, if you look to the recent years, in some part of the value chain, a lot has been done. Like if you take R&D, I mean, we were talking about AI discovery, and if you look to those different platforms, for instance, gene therapy platform, mRNA platform, another type of technology platform, those are also technologies, right? And they are part of the digital transformation. If you look to manufacturing supply chain, Industry 4.0, a lot has been done there. I mean, if you just take the example of my company, I mean, you know, the connected IoT, for instance, all those connected equipment, using AR, VR to train the people that are in quality labs or in manufacturing, a lot has been done there. I think what we didn't do enough is in the customer engagement part, and there are different reasons. Some of them are more because of the industry. It's the constraint in terms of regulatory compliance, but also there's an element of risk aversion. You know, I think we have tendency to say we can't do that because we are in pharma and we might be perceived differently, right? And I think also there's another part of the reflection. Digital transformation or transformation in general rarely start from a vision of someone. You know, I personally don't believe there is a visionary leader who says, I will transform my business and it happens. Most of the time, transformation starts because something happened, like a black swan or a big event. Either there's a new regulation.
Like ChatGPT, yeah.
Or like ChatGPT or
iPhone in the past, for instance. I mean, no one saw that. The mobile phone market became smaller and smaller, and then iPhone was introduced, it became bigger and bigger, right?
Yeah, or just COVID. That's an example of black swan. It came, you cannot anymore go and see the doctors. Then you're obliged to see what I can do in terms of digital space. Maybe now with ChatGPT, because with ChatGPT, let's not call it ChatGPT with large language model, because you will have more, like Bard and others. People like you, like me, will stop now looking for information, like you go and search and make your own opinion. They will start looking for answers. And there are a lot of implications about how you consume content. And if you don't adapt, you die. Now, there's a third point. I think sometimes speed is not necessarily good. Because I give you an example. Where I was working on my book, I did a research on the case of Elizabeth Holmes and Theranos. And I think as a pharma, because we're dealing with health, we tend to avoid some of those, you know, principles that you have in Silicon Valley, like fail fast or fake it until you make it. You know, you're dealing with patients and people's health. So you tend to really be careful before you do something. And I personally don't like the concept of fail fast. You know, I prefer to correct more, learn fast, because, you know, failing, it means that there are some implications sometimes on people, on different stakeholders. Yeah, but I think we should, it's not we don't do digital transformation, we just do it too slow. That's if there's one message you want to take back home.
Yeah, interesting. You mentioned your book, so we all know that you're writing a very excited upcoming book. So can you maybe speak about this venture and what triggered that wish to write such futuristic book about pharma and how the industry will look like in 2050?
Yes, so actually the book triggers because I had plenty of time on my hand, and I will tell you why. Actually, during COVID, I was admitted to Zurich University Hospital after a complication from COVID. So I had ample of time. And when you have some time, your brain start wandering, and you start saying, what's my purpose in life? What I'm doing currently, does it make sense? But also during that event, something happens also, is that I get one of the best treatment. I mean, if you're in Switzerland, you can get really good treatment and good care. On the same time, my parents in Morocco, North Africa, they had also COVID, but they didn't have the same quality of care. And then two questions came. The first one, it's why is that? Why today, with all these advancements, we still have inequality of care, whether it's between country, or even within countries, between communities. The second part, because I was in a state where I start thinking about legacy and future, I was like, what kind of future are we leaving to our kids? And from those two questions, I start thinking, okay, it's a reflection journey. So I'm not writing a book for a sense of just a book. It was more for me like a journey to discover in terms of what could be the future in 30 years from now, and which future we'll be leaving to our kids. And then the second element when I was doing this reflection is that you cannot talk about future of health without talking about future of society. What society will have in 22, 30 years from now. And you cannot talk about future of society without talking about future of our planet, because there's an interconnectivity between the health of our planet, the biodiversity, and our health. So that's how it started. And basically, I'm trying to do a book that is not about technology, but it's a mix of how technology will advance, but also to what extent our society will progress also.
Which goes hand by hand. Yeah, fully agree.
They go hand by hand, yeah.
Thanks, Hicham. Was a really great conversation. Looking forward to meeting you also in person, hopefully very soon in November at the next Customer Experience and Engagement Summit. Take very good care, and looking forward to very exciting times.
Thank you so much, and wish you good luck. And thank you again for having me today.